In today's session, we are going to discuss one particular sequential testing known as sequential probability ratio test. So in this presentation, we are going to discuss SPRT, that is nothing but sequential probability ratio test. Now this sequential test, that is known as SPRT, was proposed by Abraham Wald, right, in 1943. And in this sequential test, that is SPRT I am talking about, a simple hypothesis is compared against simple alternative. So SPRT deals with a deals with the testing for simple hypothesis against the simple alternative hypothesis. Now in many practical situations, it is found that SPRT is optimum as compared to a regular testing procedure also. Now let the random variable x1, x2 up to xn are IID, that is independently identically distributed. Now let us consider the testing of hypothesis, as I said, simple against simple alternative. Suppose the hypothesis is h naught theta is equal to theta naught against theta equal to theta 1. Then fx theta naught and fx theta 1 are the PDF under h naught and h1 respectively, right? For any positive integer n, probability that sample x1 to xm is obtained, that is nothing but our likelihood function, and is given by, suppose that likelihood function is denoted by p1m. p1m matlab f of x1 theta 1, f of x and so on, f of xn theta 1. That means I am talking about the likelihood function under h1, right? So that means when h1 is true, this will be the likelihood function of the given random variable x p1m. Similarly, p0m is nothing but the likelihood function when h0 is true, right? So p1m is there, p0m is there. Then SPRT for testing simple hypothesis against simple alternative hypothesis is defined as follows. Now please remember that SPRT is a sequential testing procedure. That means we are going to take 3 decisions and not 2. Even though we are testing here simple hypothesis against simple alternative hypothesis, but here 3 possible decisions are there. For that, 2 constants A and B are chosen such that A is greater than B. At any stage of the experiment, for example, suppose mth stage, the ratio p1m upon p0m is calculated, where m is the sample size at that stage, that means at the mth stage. Naturally, m will vary from 1 to 1, 2, 3 and so on, right? So what I have written there is that 2 constants are there, capital A and capital B, such that capital A is greater than capital B. Now at the mth stage का मतलब है m-1 ऑब्जर्वेशंस तक हमने एक थर्ड डिसीजन लिया है, दैट इज कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ द टेस्टिंग प्रोसीजर. अभी हम लोग पहुंच गए हैं mth स्टेज पे. सो एट द mth स्टेज द रेशियो p1m upon p0m is calculated. I have already explained you what is meant by p1m and p0m. p1m है likelihood function when h1 is true, and p0m is a likelihood function when h0 is true. So ये 1 and 0 वो indicate करता है. Okay, so we calculate the ratio p1m upon p0m, where m is the sample size at that particular stage. So m equal to 1 रहेगा, 2 रहेगा and so on रहेगा. So how to take a decision? So decision is taken on the basis of this criteria. If b less than p1m upon p0m, that ratio which we have already calculated, so if b is less than p1m upon p0m less than a, then continue the sampling inspection, that means sequential testing, by adding additional observation. So इसका मतलब है अगर m equal to 1 है और इस तरह से हमें मिलता है सिचुएशन, तो हम लोग क्या करेंगे, अभी एक और एडिशनल ऑब्जर्वेशन लेंगे. तो उस केस में m बन जाएगा 2 एडिशनल ऑब्जर्वेशन, 2 के बाद 3 एंड सो ऑन. So this continue the sequential testing by additional observation when this situation arrives, right, where b is less than the ratio less than a. On the other hand, if the ratio p1m upon p0m is less than equal to b, then the sampling or the process is terminated by accepting the null hypothesis h0. सो अगर ये इनइक्वालिटी आ रही है p1m अपॉन p0m लेस देन इक्वल टू m लेस देन इक्वल टू b, then the process will be terminated, no doubt about that, but by accepting the null hypothesis h0. On the other hand, अगर ये इनइक्वालिटी वायोलेट हो रही है, हमें मिल रहा है p1m अपॉन p0m ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू a, मतलब इससे अलग वाली राइट हैंड साइड वाली मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. इफ द रेशियो इज ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू a, then the sampling is again terminated, but by rejecting the null hypothesis h0. So in this fashion, we take a decision as far as the SPRT is concerned. So for SPRT, we take a ratio, we calculate the ratio p1m upon p0m, and then depending upon whether that ratio belongs to the interval AB, or it is less than equal to B, or it is greater than equal to B, we continue the sampling procedure. We terminate the sampling procedure by accepting the null hypothesis h0, or we we terminate the sampling procedure by rejecting the null hypothesis h0 respectively. So in this fashion, we conduct that sampling or sequential testing. Now, of course, for practical purpose, we may consider log of p1m upon p0m instead of our ratio, that is p1m upon p0m. In such cases, instead of a and b, we will use the constant log a and log b. So when we use a ratio log of p1m upon p0m, then the sequential probability ratio test can be written using these two constant also. Of course, for that log of p1m upon p0m, we can solve this, where log of this is nothing but the likelihood function under h1, this is nothing but the likelihood function under h0. So if we solve it, you will find that log of p1m upon p0m is nothing but summation zi, where zi is equal to log of this particular pdf, that is pdf under h1 and pdf under h0. That means this ratio log of p1m upon p0m will be equal to summation zi, of course, where zi is given to us. So using this value also, we can rewrite that SPRT which we have seen earlier. Then the test procedure is carried out as follows. Now to take a decision, now we are going to calculate summation zi. अर्लियर जो हम लोगों ने लिखा था उसमें लिखा था तो वी विल कैलकुलेट द रेशियो p1m अपॉन p0m, बट अभी p1m अपॉन p0m की जगह हम लोग ले रहे हैं log of p1m अपॉन p0m, विच इज़ नथिंग बट समेशन zi. सो एट एवरी स्टेज of the testing experiment we calculate summation zi, right? So if we are talking about the mth stage, then the sum will be z1 plus z2 up to zm, क्योंकि हम लोग mth stage की बात कर रहे हैं. So summation zi at the mth stage is calculated, and then the decision is taken with respect to summation zi in the following manner. अभी समीशन zi यूज कर रहा हूँ मैं, विच इज़ नथिंग बट लॉग ऑफ p1m अपॉन p0m. तो जहाँ जहाँ a था वहाँ मैं log a लिखूँगा, जहाँ जहाँ b है वहाँ मैं log b लिखूँगा, and therefore the decision will be taken on the basis of this criteria. So you can see here in the first criteria, earlier वहाँ पे था b less than p1m upon p0m less than a. अभी आप लोग देख सकते हो फर्स्ट लाइन जो लिखी है वहाँ लिखा है मैंने इफ log b लेस देन समेशन zi लेस देन log a, then continue the sequential testing by taking additional observation. On the other hand, if summation zi is less than equal to log b, then the sampling is terminated by accepting the null hypothesis H naught. On the other hand, if summation Zi is observed such that it is greater than equal to log A, then the process is terminated by rejecting the null hypothesis H naught. सो अगर ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस मुझे अगर डिसीजन लेना है तो सबसे पहला क्या स्टेप रहना चाहिए, आई शुड कैलकुलेट समेशन जेड आई. समेशन जेड आई कैलकुलेट करने के लिए मुझे क्या लगेगा, लॉग ऑफ पी वन एम अपॉन पी नॉट एम. पी वन का मतलब है लाइकलीहुड फंक्शन अंडर एच नॉट, पी नॉट एम का मतलब है लाइकलीहुड फंक्शन, सॉरी लाइकलीहुड पी वन एम का मतलब है लाइकलीहुड फंक्शन अंडर एच वन, पी नॉट एम का मतलब है लाइकलीहुड फंक्शन अंडर एच नॉट. So using this knowledge we can easily calculate summation Zi. Then there will be two constant A and B. Of course I am going to give the expression for constant A and B in the latter stages of this discussion, but there will be two values A and B. Calculate log A and log B, and then on the basis of this criteria we either continue the sequential testing or we terminate the process by accepting the null hypothesis, or the process is terminated by rejecting the null hypothesis. So this is nothing but the SPRT suggested by Wald. Now that वो फिर से मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है बिकॉज देर आर टू सिचुएशन जहाँ पे हमें अजम्पशंस करना पड़ता है, राइट. Now in the first case, because it's a ratio, ultimately summation Zi involves the ratio. So there are 2-3 things that may happen. एक particular situation है, if for particular sample P1m upon P0m equal to 0, अगर ये situation आती है then consider the value of ratio as 1 and not 0. Please remember that. अगर इस तरह से आता है then consider the value of the ratio as 1. That is the first situation. Second situation, if it is found that P1m is greater than 0 but P0m equal to 0, ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि वो वैल्यू न्यूमरेटर आपका ग्रेटर देन 0 है बट डिनोमिनेटर, बिकॉज P0m belongs to the denominator but P0m 0 आ रहा है, then in such situation we will assume that inequality 3 is satisfied and the process is terminated by rejecting the hypothesis H naught, and that is natural also. P naught m equal to 0 आ रहा है, this is nothing but the PDF under H naught. So ध्यान रखने के लिए ये रखना है कि if P naught m equal to 0 आ रहा है then we will consider this situation is satisfied. That means summation Zi is greater than equal to log A, and therefore the process is terminated by rejecting the null hypothesis H naught. In other words, we are going to accept the hypothesis H1, and that is true also because P1m is greater than 0. So this is these two situations we have to keep whenever we try to solve the example using SPRT.